Hello, everybody. It is your host, Andrew Field here, and there's a lot of news that we have to talk about this week, so let's get her going. Actually, I'm starting it off on a good note. A billionaire named Robert F. Smith pledged to pay student loans for the class of 19 at Morehouse College. Really respectable and admirable thing for him to do. A study found that 60% of male managers are nervous to interact with women at work 1 year after the Me Too movement. I'm not saying the Me Too movement was a bad thing, it was a very good thing, but it's just interesting that it makes people nervous to interact with them, scared that if they go too far. So I just say that men should know their limits, and flirting is a lot different than sexual harassment. Um, but yeah, that was interesting. Um, Brooks Koepka won the PGA Championship. Tiger Woods didn't qualify, and he may have been injured. Trump said the trade war is moving Chinese companies to other Asian countries. Hopefully, no possibility of Trump repeating Reagan to want a third term, because he's already talking about the second term. And yeah, hopefully he doesn't try to stay in power after that, like Reagan tried to get a third term. Trump is meeting with Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, and North Korea and Iran are topics to mention. Trump calls North Korean missile tests that violated UN resolution small weapons, and he sticks with Kim Jong-un to bash Biden. China can make it harder for American businesses in China and can soon refuse to buy U.S. bonds, because China is holding a lot of our debt. I think it said about a trillion or a billion. China's holding most of our debt. So I mean, it'd be bad for everyone if they refuse to buy it, but people are calling that their nuclear option in the trade war. Trump tweet threatened Iran soon after a rocket exploded near the new U.S. embassy. There were no casualties from the rocket explosion. In Baghdad, Iraq, Iran's foreign minister hit back against Trump because Trump said that if they threaten the U.S. again, then there will no longer be Iran. And then he said we will fend you off like we have other aggressors throughout our history. So the North Korea situation, it turned into a Twitter statement, but going back and forth. The Pentagon says that Iran was responsible for the oil tanker attacks, and then Trump deploys 1,500 troops to the Middle East, and he went against Congress to approve a 8 billion weapons deal to Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and Jordan. He called Amash, the guy that was saying that the one Republican who is called to look into impeachment and has read the Mueller report, he called him a loser. No surprise there. Pelosi receives the John F. Kennedy Profile and Courage Award and says that Trump engaged in a cover-up shortly before meeting with Trump on an important infrastructure meeting, which I think the timing could have been a bit better. And she also called his actions villainous, and that he wants to be impeached. So that when this meeting was going to take place, he again stormed out and exited the meeting, said that Democrats need to stop investigations in him to be able to work with him. So he said, he thinks that he's above the law so much that he said that nothing's going to get done until investigations are not looked into him anymore. That's disgusting. The House passed a bill for changes in the U.S. retirement system. One Republican was stalled a relief aid bill that was going to go to Puerto Rico and southern states affected by hurricanes. Trump gave Barr the ability to look into the CIA and FBI properly to properly surveillance Trump in the Russian investigation if he was investigated properly. It's so stupid. Theresa May resigns as UK Prime Minister. So what happened was the last Prime Minister resigned a day after the referendum for Britain to leave the EU, and she also didn't want to leave. Like her policy was to stay, and after her like plan didn't work out and Parliament didn't really work with her, she decided to resign. And they're saying that a pro-Trump Brexiteer, Boris Johnson, is a likely candidate to take her place. And it's going to be in like less than a month, like 2 weeks. She's going to resign, and then the new leader's going to be there in the UK. She had a pretty emotional speech, and Schiff canceled an enforcement meeting after just the Justice Department offered to share Mueller documents. Chuck Schumer asked the government to see if a Chinese firm undergoing project in New York could have been a threat to national security. Trump gave $16 billion in aid to farmers over the trade war. Google restricts Huawei's access to Android after a Trump order. The US and China race to create 5G. 5G connects all smart devices in the world. When the US created 4G, the economy went up $100 billion. If the US won the 5G race, it would create 3 million jobs and add 500 billion to the US economy. Hawaii could be used to spy on everyone with 5G, and China is leading the 5G race. AT&T is going to lie and say that they have 5G when they don't. So I just like read about that, and or I saw a video on that, and it was very like interesting to see how important this 5G race is, because it actually is really important. A bullet train that could match airplane speeds is going to debut in Japan. A federal judge ruled with Congress to be able to look into Trump's financial records at Deutsche Bank in Capital One. New York lawmakers approved a bill for Congress to see Trump's taxes. Trump said nothing of Russian bombers flying over Alaska for 2 days. So I thought it was very interesting. Another correlation that, like with the Venezuela, Cuba, Iran, other countries, he'll get involved. But then when it comes to Russia, and there were for 2 days in a row this week, they flew bombers over Alaska, a U.S. state, and he said nothing. Didn't tweet one thing about it. Pretty sad. Trump lashes out on a report of suspicious activity in Trump and Kushner's accounts at Deutsche Bank. Don McCann is being silenced by Trump, not wanting him to testify to Congress. Measles cases reached 880 cases in the U.S., most cases from New York. Georgia also enacts harsh anti-abortion law. These laws are passed by all white males. Trump is pro-life, except in incest, rape, and protecting life of the mother. That was also Reagan's position. Romney agrees, saying, "Oh, Alabama case goes too far," which I think it does also. NASA plans sending the first woman to the moon by 2024. Mike Pence directs NASA to go back to the moon. A moon outpost is planned for 2028, along with 37 total launches. The city of Baltimore struggles with the cyber attack for weeks, all because a group called Shadow Brokers obtained many hacking tools the United States used to spy on other countries. The National Security Agency, America's largest and most secretive agency, has been infiltrated. Cyber weapons at their disposal to create problems worldwide. Bank CEOs accused of approving millions in loans for Paul Manafort to get a position in the Trump administration. American Taliban John Lind left America to join the Taliban and was captured months after 9/11, was freed before his 20-year sentence 17 years later, where people cited good behavior. I think that was very stupid. He should have definitely been given jail for life for deciding to join the Taliban and leave the United States, and I think he probably should have gotten the death sentence, but they for some reason let him out 17 years later. Trump blames investigations for his 38% overall approval rating. The White House wanted to pay NASA with a grant from a program that gave money to low-income students. Steve Mnuchin says the Harriet Tubman won't appear on the $20 bill for a decade, was supposed to next year. Michael Avenatti charged with stealing $300,000 from Stormy Daniels. A federal judge partially blocked Trump's border wall plan. Trump may allow a Canadian mining company to mine in Alaska, which would be bad. Obama killed it by stating that it would create devastating effects to the ecosystem. But of course, Trump doesn't care about the environment or doesn't believe in climate change, and all he cares about is money. That's just one of his many problems. Earthworms are threatening the environment by putting carbon stored in the forest floors back into the air while eating, and are making their way to the most north forest since the Ice Age. Amazon is developing a bracelet that tells your emotions. A Jeopardy contestant accidentally said Jonathan Quick was a cool running back. I think that's kind of funny because I watch hockey. Colin Jost and Scarlett Johansson are engaged. A Utah judge is suspended for criticizing Trump. Ford plans to cut 7,000 white-collar jobs. Dress Barn plans to close all stores. Lawmakers hold a Green New Deal rally Monday, or they held a Green New Deal rally Monday. Tesla falls to a 2.5-year low this week. They did. Stock price over concerns for Tesla to hit targets, and investors are losing faith in Tesla. And Elon Musk is trying to do a lot of things, but they don't seem to work, at least right now. Whole Foods plans to ban plastic straws and offer small produce bags, which is a great thing. The sixth child dies in U.S. custody, and Lauren Underwood, right before, complained about the 5 deaths not being acceptable. Sprint and T-Mobile merger might happen after the FCC blesses the deal. Chicago welcomes the first black, female, and gay, Mayor Lori Lightfoot. So props to her. A U.S. destroyer sailed in the South China Sea to challenge China's land claims. Europe is at odds with Trump on Iran, not realizing why we're going to be so aggressive with Iran, and I believe that is Trump's fault because even though I believe Iran did those attacks later on, like the oil tanker attacks, the pipeline attacks, those attacks to escalate things, it was Trump's fault for pulling out of the nuclear deal, and we had Iran under control until Trump did that, and then he just started escalating tensions a lot now. So if we go to war, I'd say it's Trump's fault. Iraqi figures worry the U.S.-Iran war could burn Iraq, which makes a lot of sense, and I'd say the U.S. says they're going to defend Iraq, but yeah, I could see why they wouldn't want to get involved. They're just recovering from the last war. Ukraine's Canadian president takes office and wants to dissolve parliament. The Eiffel Tower was evacuated as a man climbs it. A police officer in New Jersey repeatedly punches a teen in the head during an arrest. More than 26,000 Illinoisans lost the right to own a gun, but 80% may still have one. I'm sorry, this video is going to be really long. Chicago trying to let people know where to call to give police notice ahead of expectations of increased violence due to it being the summertime. Julian Assange was charged with violation of Espionage Act with an 18-count indictment for disclosing national defense information, and it brought up the debate between the government secrecy and press freedom. But I think it was the right thing because he was giving our intel to other countries. It's not like the news network that's just informing the people. He wasn't a reporter. They were trying to make that clear. Trump struggles with America's deadliest drug crisis. Violent tornadoes hit Oklahoma, Texas, and Missouri, and I know that at least 2 people were killed in a tornado attack in Oklahoma. For sports, Golden State is heading to the finals. Boston, St. Louis are the NHL finals. A Utah man dies after climbing 7 continents' tallest mountains. 10 die in 2 months on Mount Everest. Too many are trying to climb Mount Everest, and there seems to be a traffic jam, which is crazy to think about. Kamala Harris wants to fine companies for gender pay gap and have a seal if they pay equally, which seems like a good plan, but yeah, if a man and woman are working the same job, they should get the same pay. Almost 40% of Americans would struggle to pay a $400 financial emergency. America's last slave ship was found in Alabama. Washington becomes the first state to allow human composting. Uber now offers silence mode to not talk to the driver for an extra fee, which is, I think, stupid if people take that. Non Winton, the first woman to read BBC TV news, passes. Utah picked Narendra Modi as their leader. U.S. officials in 5 states ban people that have measles from flying. Climate change is making allergies worse by having more pollen in the air and making days longer. China has its own anti-U.S. trade song. Europe votes with EU in the balance. A magnitude 8 earthquake strikes the Amazon jungle. Steve Bullock, a man who killed 2 parents and captured a 13-year-old girl, is sentenced to life in prison without parole. And that's the highest sentence because there's no death penalty in Wisconsin. Along with the 2020 news, Montana governor announced his 2020 bid, along with the New York mayor Bill de Blasio, but he's already been getting a lot of heat. It makes 24 total Democratic candidates, but for de Blasio did not even get support from New York to run for a presidential run, and Pelosi and fellow Democrats laughed at him. And that kind of lowered my standards for Pelosi because it's really disgusting that you're going to laugh at someone for running for office. You know, you've the third highest office in the United States, below the president and vice president, and you also are running for office, so I think that's kind of disrespectful. 2020 Democrats were divided on Fox News, with Kamala Harris and Elizabeth Warren avoiding Fox. Bernie Sanders and Pete Buttigieg, on the other hand, had town halls there, and Trump got mad or jealous of Pete Buttigieg's town hall and attention being focused away from him and Fox News. So yeah, that's all the news I had to cover. I hope you guys appreciated the video. If you did, like and subscribe please to see more content. I know I need to split things up so videos won't be this long. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.